What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. It is the recap show. Brandon, the Miami Hurricanes go up to Louisville. They gave me 78 panic attacks, but they pulled out a shootout, 52-45. There was a lot to love about this game, a lot to not like about this game. What are your thoughts after the Canes got it done against the Cardinals?
Well, like we said, another close win by the University of Miami and the Hurricanes. And essentially, my takeaways of this offense is really dynamic. It can win in so many different ways. Cam Ward can get so many different people involved. A big game from Sam here. I think the biggest takeaway is that, it's a bend but don't break defensive type of year. And if you clean up special teams, that game actually isn't as close as it seemed.
Yeah, the special teams and the defense have Miami Hurricanes fans a little upset despite the win. Missed tackles on both units, actually, defense and special teams. Mario Cristobal said the kickoff coverage was horrible. He called it horrible. And the defense, he kind of wove his way around that answer, but especially the secondary just is not getting the job done. Their quarterback who, I thought would have a decent game, Tyler Shug, 31 of 51, 342 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kind of was able to pick Miami's defense apart. And it's been kind of a theme that the defense can't tackle as well as they should, and the secondary seems to get outmatched every week.
It's kind of a charmed year for Miami because in this game, the biggest fear factor for me were 2 Miami-based kids, and I covered this last week. When you've got Miami kids on the opposing roster and they have an axe to grind, that makes for really bad, scenarios when it comes to, playing these teams, and they got a chance to get a home game. You got Don Chaney, Ja'Cory Brooks. Don Chaney was a Hurricane,
right?
Ja'Cory Brooks, Qatar 6, he didn't play much from Miami Central. And then the biggest problem was Isaiah Brown. If he doesn't fumble and they take him out and then he doesn't get hit, really hard and goes down, if he plays the entire game, I don't know. That this is a difficult outcome. And, credit Mario Cristobal, he's supporting his coach, but anybody can see that the defense is challenged, particularly with tackling and coverage. And the right schemes pose problems for this University of Miami team. But I will give shout out to, Raul Popo Aguila.
Aguirre.
Aguirre. And I would, say that he probably had the play of the game, because if he doesn't get so aggressive in jumping on that fumble in the end zone, Miami doesn't have the cushion and the pad that they needed to absorb that special teams 100-yard kickoff. As bad as Miami teams have been over the years, they've not given up a kickoff return for a touchdown. And I'm sure it's been a while. I can't remember the last one we saw.
But at the end of
the, that has not happened in a while. Usually, Andres Borregales kicks it into the end zone. That's something rare that you see for the Lou Groza, seemingly semifinalist. And he had, outside of that, a pretty, fair game, and he's having a great season. So I'd be interested, Beast, to turn it around to you. What was said that was the most telling for the continuation of these sort of harder than need to be games from Coach Cristobal?
Yeah, it's funny. He was asked about the replay and whatever, and he's, he basically just said, "Hey, it is what it is." And he said he gave credit to Louisville. Obviously the Braun brothers know how to put together an offense. They're going to score. So there's that. But yeah, there was, he did, the one thing he came out and said, his most telling remark was, hey, that special teams meeting is going to be a really tough meeting because it has to be, because what we did was horrible. He called it horrible. And he normally doesn't use words like that. And he said, we're letting a lot of guys, a lot of younger guys and backups play on those units. And they're about to learn that they need to earn those jobs because it was horrible. So, that was the most telling comment that he had in his post game. And, the defense, like I said, he basically gave credit to Louisville there and did talk about, the fundamentals of tackling, but we thought that was what the bye week was for. So, I guess we need to work on that. And, I'll be honest with you, Florida State's coming in a wounded team, right? The first time they've ever lost to Duke and all this stuff, but we know there is some talent on that roster. So
of course,
if you think
no gimme game,
if you're looking at this game
left on this schedule,
right? If you think you're just gonna show up to the Hard Rock and play this game, like that's not what it's going to be about. Hey, Brandon, I don't want to get too negative without giving credit where credit is due, right? Once again, Cam Ward, it's like a video game for him.
And I'm glad you brought that up because we need to spend, and I don't think we've done this up to this point, we need to spend a significant amount of time appreciating who Cam Ward is. We're so busy talking about everything else. Let's stop and realize we're seeing a generational talent here. Let's stop and take in for just a moment just how special this guy is. This roster, for the playmakers, it's really not that much different than it was last year. You bring in one or two guys on the defensive line, you bring in a receiver and a running back, and almost everything else is the same, with the exception of him. Like, he is the biggest difference in this season. You're going to get 40 points a game, and you can never have said that going back 4 or 5 quarterbacks. And I just think that it's phenomenal what he's done.
Miami has never had a quarterback in its history that has had 7 games in a row, 300+ yards and 3+ touchdowns. Never. It's never happened.
Miami is known for having game managers, and I know that that's sometimes seen as a diss, but I mean, guys that can do just enough, make a throw here and there to get you out of jams, but not like dynamic first round type guys. Like, when's the last time Miami had a first rounder?
No, I mean, it'd be, it was the 3 of Jim Kelly, Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde.
Yeah, that was literally almost before I was born. So, like,
correct.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's super special. I think he's got to continue to be in the Heisman race. The hatred for Miami, and we probably should cover this in the podcast. We need to spend at least 5 to 7 minutes talking about the hatred of Miami. If you listen to the broadcast, you'd be ready to, really vomit. These guys,
they were cheering, man.
Joe Test is, and I met, Joe Test at the Florida game, but the gentleman with him, oh my God. I mean, it was like he was begging, and that's the second time, because I don't think I went to the USF game.
Right.
That's the second time I've had to sit there. And all Canes fans know this. I am not a University of Miami fan. I am interested in the team. I live in South Florida, but I have such a reputation of going around, and I can't afford to have fandom.
Right.
And we're, media. You get the right to have fandom because you went to the University of Miami.
Right.
It's fair for you.
Right.
Just like I never apologize for cheering for Northwestern University. But at the end of the day, like, what he did, I think his name is Jordan Campbell. Like, he played at Vanderbilt, if I believe, if he was a quarterback. Oh man, it was terrible. It was like he was hoping at any juncture Miami would lose the game. It wasn't the worst, but it's top 5.
And of course, it's been 3 games in a row with the replay decision that no one's going to agree with. I watched,
but they got this one so right. If listen,
yeah, but I
don't want football. If you don't, Cam Ward's arm was so far going forward. It's not even.
I just watched
debatable.
I just watched Coach Brahm's press conference because I was watching Mario, so I went back and watch Brahm's press conference, and he was like, "It was the wrong call. They made the wrong call," and I was like, aghast. I was like, "How can anyone watch
Love
that?"
You, Coach.
Yeah,
love you, Coach. Great offense. You got some great people on your staff. Shout out to everybody I know at Louisville, but you're delusional if you think that was the wrong call.
Yeah,
I said it.
And I would like to give some credit to a couple of guys. Obviously, Xavier Restrepo again over 100 yards. This
Every
guy,
game.
whatever
Every game.
whatever record he hasn't
Every
broken,
game.
whatever record he hasn't broken, he's going to break. He's going to be the number one receiver at the
Did
history
you
of the
see
University of
this? I mean,
Miami.
I don't know if you can tell from the press box, but like Lamar Thomas and Michael Irvin embracing him,
Yeah,
after the first
I saw it.
touchdown.
I saw it. Yeah.
You talk about Xavier Restrepo, and the elephant in the room is can he be the face of probably one of the most prolific skill homes for college football in America? And I think seeing, Michael Irvin and Lamar Thomas, who, used to coach at Louisville, on the sidelines, embracing him as he was, sweeping away his record. I think that's sort of a changing and a passing of the guard. And Restrepo has earned that. He's a young man. I remember when Xavier Restrepo was 9, 10 years old, and his dad would be in youth football chat groups in South Florida, just pushing his son and promoting his son. And he used to think about this. I'm like, this kid can't play with the big dogs. And man, I was wrong. He's proved everybody wrong. He went to Monarch High School, got a ton of experience, transferred to St. Thomas, became a household name, went to Deerfield Beach, almost won a state championship, enrolled early at Miami, had 2 injury-prone first 2 years. And since then, the last 3, he's been the most reliable college football receiver, bar none. And having him and Cam Ward and Isaiah Horton and Jacoby George, who just does crazy things all the time that end up being amazing. And, Sam Brown came to the party for once tonight.
Yep.
And you saw it. 52 points is a lot of offensive production.
I was going to bring, Xavier Restrepo. Not enough can be said about the young man, about just, how steady he is and how sure he is. And listen, he's not the fastest guy. He's not the tallest guy. He can't jump the highest, but he's the best. And it's just all of those inner qualities where he's there. When you need him to be there, he's there. But I do want to highlight, you bring up Sam Brown. We also have to bring up Damian Martinez. Those are the 2 guys you added through the portal on the offense, and they showed up. They showed up in this game.
They showed up tonight. Mark Fletcher, had an uncharacteristic fumble. He's only a sophomore. He'll learn to tuck that thing away, especially in traffic and close games. But at the end of the day, Martinez is what, Miami needed him to be tonight. And I'll be honest, he's underachieved up to this point, especially for, the resources that were, spent to get him here. And, if he just was brought in just to win that game, it was worth it, because you cannot, and they went over this on the broadcast, you cannot lose this game. You don't have tough opponents. So you could actually do great and lose one game and be kicked out of everything. You could be kicked out of ACC. You could be kicked out of the playoff. And that would be a shame, because this team's playing is good. And I want to reiterate this. The SEC hype for this year is similar to last year. They're overrated. They are overrated. You look at Texas, who they played, overrated. They haven't beat a team with a top 50 offense. These people are so overrated. They're good football teams, don't get me wrong, but it's not the Saban era. It's
the
not
national
the same.
The national media, if you talk to the national media, there's 2 conferences they care about. That's it. There's just 2 conferences.
Well, the
those
deal
teams,
is, and some of that is, Beast, the ACC's done a terrible job of this, and this predates Jim Phillips, because I love Jim Phillips. He did great things for my alma mater. Other conferences didn't employ people the way the SEC has and the Big Ten has. When they created those networks, like I remember when the Big Ten network was created, like it was awful to watch, but it started creating jobs. And when more people are covering your league and you give more media access, that's the problem. The SEC understood, hey, give everybody a media pass. Saturday Down South, these guys were a bunch of college kids. Now it's one of the biggest platforms in college football. Like, give these guys the ability to cover this sport, give them access, and let them run with it and create a monster. So the monster is now bigger than the league, the actual play, and I think you'll see that, you saw that with Georgia and Alabama, and then Alabama goes out and loses to Vanderbilt and struggling with Tennessee right now. And Tennessee, loses to or near loses to, another team last. It's a mess. It's just a mess.
Yeah, so Miami wins against Louisville. There's certainly stuff to clean up. We talked about it, the defense, the special teams. And, listen, next week's a rivalry game. So I really, honestly, as much as as an alum of the University of Miami, who is, born and bred not to really like Florida State, I'm throwing that out this week, and I don't care about what their record is. Everyone on that team,
they did not look good against.
No, they look bad. But this is going to be one of those games where everyone on that team knows everyone on this team, and all of that stuff.
They're going to play out of their mind.
Yeah, I mean, so this Miami team needs to fix things up. But you know what? In the end, as long as number one is back there, they're never out of a game. There's no game that they're gonna go into where I say they don't have a chance or they're not gonna win. He's just different, man.
Can I say this? What Matt Merritt has done with 28, AJ Allen.
Yeah.
AJ Allen. I'm saying Ajay like Ajay Hall.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, bringing him in the fourth quarter where he's just that guy that's super fresh and these guys are sucking wind on the Louisville DN. I mean, it was all good in the first quarter when they were breaking the U and doing all that. Hey, bro, you got to play 4 quarters of football. You got Cam Ward on the other side. You can't get too bent out of shape. This game is not over until those double zeros. And so you bring him in and he just closes like he did. I like that.
By the way, one thing that was missing from today was my boy and the rest of the tight ends really weren't involved in the offense.
Where's the tight ends today?
Yeah. No,
they took it out of the offense.
They weren't involved. I don't know if that was due to the way the plays were called or the way the quarterback was seeing it or what Louisville was doing defensively. But we didn't see the tight ends today. But you know what? They won the game. They scored 52 points. It's over
Arroyo
500 yards
play of
offense.
the game. A lot of people are going to say it was a hold, but if he doesn't make that block,
correct.
Miami can't. Miami can't bust this game wide open. He played a game to me. He had a couple of other really good blocks. He blocked his tail off tonight. I think he earned his first round grade tonight because he showed he can do both things. He was great tonight.
Yeah, no, all the tight ends actually had some good blocks in the game. If I'm going back to think about it, I mean, they're
Lofton played great.
Lofton had a good block. McCormick, yeah. So, listen, they did their job. They just, weren't as involved.
They weren't involved in the offense in, a scoring or playmaking capacity, but they blocked great. I mean,
all right, well, 7-0 it is.
7-0, baby.
And we'll see how it breaks down. And we'll talk to you later this week as we preview Miami and Florida State. A team that, Brandon knows a bunch of guys on and has certainly been up there to Tallahassee. So we will tell you about that one coming up. The Canes win 52-45. You've been listening, you've been watching to, and please subscribe to Real Ones Canes podcast. Peace.